Howdy, howdy. It's Colby back with more previews of the Game Master's Handbook of Patrons, Pacts, and Pantheons. I'm writing this from a goblin den at almost midnight, so bear with me. So we are back with Chapter 2, continuing our preview. Last time we talked about the first chapter, which goes over sort of different ways of thinking about religion, different ways of organizing fantasy worlds, using some of the terms from popular fiction, from real life, help us think in terms of monotheism and polytheism and animism and cosmic law, all these different categories to help us organize. We also introduced the favor and gifts system, which is sort of the backbone that runs through the whole book. Basically, as players sort of work for and against these different beings, they can develop relationships that are rewarded with power. So a paladin can fulfill their oath, can do the things a divinity demands of them, and get actual tangible power to go with that. The same way that a fighter could swear themselves to a powerful eldritch being, and as they work towards their goals, they get new cool abilities to match that. Or if they work against those goals, you might see that fall away. But this week, we are getting into Chapter 2. Now, this is one of my favorites. This is Example Deities and Divinities. We try to be careful to have sort of different terminology here. Not everything is a deity in the traditional sense a lot of folks think of. So we try to use divinity to capture that broader spectrum. So let's get right into it. Right here at the top of Chapter 2, we have some beautiful art, once again from Luke Eidenschink. I just love this black and white, these little individual pen strokes. You really should go check him out on social media. I think he's Luke Inks in a lot of places. But you can actually watch him doing each one of these strokes and making this beautiful art. So right here, we have either a follower or a depiction of the divinity I'm going to talk about. So we're going to scroll down a little. He is not the first one in the book, but he's the second. Gerhun, Devourer of Knowledge. Try to get y'all a good view here. So we have lots of different divinities here. And one of the things I tried to do was to give you examples that showed both archetypal divinities, but also some examples that kind of flip the conventions on their heads. There's a lot of knowledge gods. There's a lot of deities of lore and mystery and da-da-da-da-da. And they're all about libraries and universities and ivory towers and books. And you've been there. You've seen that. There's lots of options if you want to play that straight. What I wanted to do, though, was to give a glimpse of a knowledge deity that doesn't fit that traditional mold, especially one that is coming from a different sort of social position. So we have Gerhun. Gerhun is a goblin deity. It's very specific in a way that a lot of the others don't get named. But basically, Gerhun is the god of knowledge for the underdogs. Gerhun is not about putting more knowledge and more power in the hands of, these sort of like historically aristocratic, wealthy, families with all of their wealth and magic and secrets. Gerhun is about sort of sharing knowledge, but specifically about challenging these sorts of places. So what Gerhun does, first let's look at this description here. I really like this intro. Nearly every mortal land houses elite places of learning, high towers, grand libraries, laboratories, and academies filled with the noble, refined, aristocratic, and shining gods of knowledge and wisdom to match. But who is the god of the orphan who practices writing words as she sweeps the street? Who watches over the genius farmhand, who constructs beautiful theories as he tills the fields, grand thoughts never to be written or shared? Who grinds their teeth over the scholarship student crushed by their betters? Gerhun is the guardian of the squalid geniuses, the desperately studious, those who hunger for knowledge. So this is a lot of fun. I took this phrase, hunger for knowledge, and we really played with that. Gerhun is a devourer of knowledge. So specifically, what Gerhun is best known for. Oh, we're not. We're a little too zoomed in. Let me play with my. There we go. Gerhun has the ability to devour sources of knowledge. Gerhun is sort of a knowledge locust. He goes into a place of knowledge and devours it, but then is able to bring it back for those who desperately want it. So this is a knowledge god who isn't respectable, who isn't, noble and pretty and, attached to academia and all these things. So let's look at Gerhun's precepts. So every divinity has their domain, which is sort of their broad set of interests. So all the knowledge divinities have a similar list. Gerhun is a little bit different, though. So these are the things Gerhun expects of his followers. Never give up on learning. Seek wisdom no matter the source. Create opportunities for those who lack it. Serve as a living rebuke to those who take their knowledge and resources for granted. And then here's my favorite. Devour any book that comes into your possession. Devour any book. So this is literal. So Gerhun's level 3 faith ability. So this is one that a character is going to get very early, hopefully in just 2 or 3 sessions. As part of a 10-minute ritual, you can fully consume a mundane book, memorizing all of its contents and gaining understanding of them. This fully destroys the book. As part of a 1-hour ritual with appropriate materials, you can recreate the book in its entirety. So a follower of Gerhun can walk into the fancy library, can take a book off the shelf, and go and literally devour the book. And at that point, they have it memorized. They can go out and make as many copies as they want. There's almost a sort of like pirate radio for knowledge. It's sort of tangled up here. So Gerhun, a lot of fun. Perfect for something like an arcane trickster, for maybe a non-traditional wizard, a hedge mage, someone who doesn't have the advantage of all this training. Maybe an artificer who's having to cobble their knowledge together. This could be a bard who has to sort of, scrape together knowledge and lore and training from the world at large. Or it could just be a fighter who loves a book. We really tried to make it so that all of these divinities give a little bit for everybody. You can always spin them in different ways for different characters. I think we got enough time. We're going to look at one more. This is another one who I really enjoy. We're going to jump all the way down to Renard of Nine Tails. So Renard actually precedes a lot of the other stuff in the book. In some ways, he's one of those sort of foundational Genesis seeds for the rest of the book. When you look across all of this different mythology and religion and folklore all across the world, almost everywhere there are foxes. People looked at foxes and went, those tricky little guys are up to something. And it's wild how widespread this is. So all across Asia, you have these different really cool sort of trickster fox stories. And there's lots of different versions. And some of them give different character to foxes. Some of them are specific named foxes. Some of them even tie into specific moments in history. And then all the way over in Europe, you have kind of a similar vibe going on. These folks saw foxes and said, these guys have a rich, complicated, rascally little life. So over in parts of Asia, You have these fox spirit stories, nine-tail foxes, fox monsters. In Europe, you have the Renard stories of an anthropomorphic fox and a sort of whole noble court of anthropomorphic animals. So instead of just grabbing one piece or the other of this, I thought what would be the most fun would be to say, what if all of these wild stories are one unlucky fox Forrest Gumping his way across the face of the world? And so that's Renard of Nine Tails. Um, so basically, Renard starts off as a normal fox, and he's trickier and wilier. He keeps surviving. And as is common in many cultures, Renard becomes a spirit. He grows from a normal animal into a sort of transcendent being just by surviving. This is, again, pretty common feature, especially in a lot of Asian folklore. And then he keeps surviving, and he keeps having these more and more ridiculous encounters. So each one of these references sort of pings off of a different fox story from a different part of the world. So there's a lot of monster foxes. There's a massive uncatchable fox in Greek lore. There are several like devouring spirit foxes. But then you also have more sort of ghost story foxes, foxes that just confuse and lead people astray. But you also have some really crazy stories of these fox spirits that became so powerful and influential that they did things like seduce emperors, and they caused the downfall of empires. There's several cultures that have these sort of big sweeping myths. And then even beyond that, as much as they're considered tricksters, a lot of cultures also see foxes as messengers of the divine, with some of them even sort of rising to sort of a celestial role. And that's what happens. So our character Renard goes from an animal to a spirit or a ghost to a monster to a sort of ironically ends up becoming queen of a whole empire. That's that epithet which is snuck in here, the Golden Heavenly Empress. We didn't lean too hard on that, but it's just a fun background detail. And so eventually, Renard becomes a divinity. The problem is, he doesn't want to be one. So this is fun to play with, a divinity who doesn't actually want to be a divinity. He doesn't want followers. He doesn't want responsibility. So we see some references here. Above all, he pushes any would-be followers to seek out their own wandering path, eschewing any authority or model, including himself, though he's never too humble to receive an offering or hear his tales retold. So his precepts: don't seek me out. Number 1, Renard wants to be left alone. Always be free. Hold identities loosely, especially the ones inside your own head and heart. Strive only as you desire, without ambition or cause. Be interesting, not good or evil or great. And leave him some offerings. So again, this is a very different model of a divinity. Renard doesn't really care if your character is good or bad. There's no moral structure to it. On some level, he's really more of a divinity of freedom, of seeking your own way regardless of what others expect of you. So this is Renard, another one of my favorites. His ability, the Blessing of the Nine Tails. This is an ability that grows with the character. It scales off proficiency bonus, up to twice proficiency bonus. So basically, let me adjust our window again here. There we go. So basically, this is a floating skill bonus, up to 9 points a day at max level. that you can just add to anything. And so that sort of reflects the fluidity and flexibility of Renard. He doesn't prepare people for combat. He doesn't prepare people for asceticism. He gives them a little bump on whatever they happen to be doing today, which is sort of the way he lived his life. So this is sort of a little preview. We have lots more deities and divinities. We have different examples from all these different domains, and a lot of them are intended to demonstrate different models. They're not just there to be used, which of course we want you to drop them into your game, but also we want to demonstrate what's possible. These divinities are not, they don't necessarily fit into traditional Forgotten Realms or, all these different sort of campaign setting mythologies. We're trying to break the mold a little bit. So we have, we have a war god of mercy. So big meathead, himbo war god of being the bigger man and letting your enemy live. We've got we have a god of welcome and hospitality who's a changeling because you never quite know who they might be. So you better extend hospitality to everyone because you never know where this god is going to pop up. We've got... Sorry, my allergies are getting me. We've got a god of illusions, a god of poison and alchemy who's actually an ascended mortal. We've got a sort of bloodstained and battered Phoenix god of hope. All of these things are supposed to sort of flip upside down what we think these things could look like. We've even got representations of sort of ancestral worship, celestial sort of bureaucracy and structures. We have great spirits of nature. So there's lots of different options here, but again, all of them are about what's going to be fun in your campaign, what's actually going to be relevant, what's going to move story, what's going to set up plot hooks, what's going to help your PCs get into shenanigans, what's going to help them tell cool, interesting, emotional arcs for their character. We also want to give you inspiration. We want you to say, oh, I didn't know I could do it that way. Now I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. That's actually why a big part of this, we'll take just a second, pop our PDF back up. It wouldn't be the Game Master series without tables. And we've got lots of tables. So to go with your divinities, we've also got these tables to add new doctrines and obligations, prohibitions, superstitions. If you keep going down, we've got holy days and rituals and rites. We've got stuff about history and organization and institutions. And then we've got some advice on how to bring all these things together. So our hope is that this book is setting you up to tell the coolest stories, to invite your players to tell the cool stories. We have lots more divinities than this, and that's not even talking about all the supernatural beings, all of the patrons and celestials and elementals and demons and fae and undead and all the stuff that's coming later in the book. So I'm going to wrap it up here. If you have any questions, though, I'd love to hear from you. You can catch me at Hagiologist on Blue Sky. Honestly, you can just drop Colby Whittaker in a search bar. It'll pull up just about everything. You can also go back to my blog where I write about some of these topics in more detail. And yeah, don't forget, you can go ahead and pre-order. The book drops on August 18th, but pre-orders are super important. They help us out a lot. The more pre-orders we have, the more likely we can make more books like this. Also, more importantly for you, we have some really awesome pre-order content. It's going to be site neutral. I can't tell you exactly what it is yet, but we should have an announcement any day now. site neutral and retroactive. So if you've already pre-ordered, you're good. You're good. If you pre-order now, you're also good. And we want to be able to share this with you guys. It's super cool. I did way too much with it, but we're very excited to be able to share that, and we'll have it for you soon. So that's all from me for now. Keep an eye out. I'll be back with more previews, and if folks will send me questions, glad to do some Q&A, talk more about these themes and ideas. That's all for now. I'm gonna shut up before I wake up my sleeping goblin child, and I'll catch y'all around. Bye, Internet.